Imagine being torn from everything you know, your home, your family, your name, dragged across continents and sold like a commonware in a shadowy slave market dripping with blood and fear. That was the fate of Alexandra. She was from a village along the Dnieper River, snatched by Crimean Tatar raiders in a dawn raid so brutal that it still haunts the superstitions of her homeland. One moment she was laughing with friends by the well. The next, she was thrust into a world of silken corridors, marble courtyards, and veiled dangers. Renamed Hürrem, the Laughing One, she entered the imperial harem of Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, a gilded cage where ambition warred with survival. Yet, by sheer force of will, intelligence, and a sparkle of audacity, she would emerge not only alive but ascendant, reshaping an empire that spanned 3 continents. Hürrem's earliest days in Topkapi's labyrinth were a dizzying blur of color and whisper. Eunuchs in turbans guided her past towering walls, past gardens where citrus scents mingled with incense, and into vast halls ringed with velvet cushions and scented fountains. Rival concubines eyed her with the cold calculation of predators sizing up prey. Their voices, like poison-tipped arrows, mocked her accent, her awkward courtesy, her uncertain place in court protocol. But Hürrem had a secret weapon beyond her looks, auburn curls and emerald eyes that caught the light. She had a mind hungry for knowledge. She studied Turkish day and night, devoured the poetry of Rumi and Fuseli, and learned the subtle art of reading the Sultan's moods as deftly as a general reads the battlefield. Then came Suleiman's first audience with her. He entered the harem like a storm, robes of emerald silk cascading over gold-embroidered boots, a jeweled turban circled with pearls, eyes as sharp as a falcon's. He paused before Hürrem's door, drawn by whispers of this fiery newcomer. Some accounts say she curtsied with perfect poise. Others say she greeted him with laughter so genuine it thawed his legendary stoicism. In that heartbeat of exchange, the Sultan saw not a trembling concubine but a partner, someone who could match his wit, challenge his decisions, and soothe his darkest moments. Their connection was immediate, electric, and utterly forbidden. In the weeks that followed, Hürrem became Suleiman's favorite, a dangerous position in a place where rivals were as numerous as the slippers in the palace. Concubines who failed to please plummeted from favor. Some vanished into exile in distant provinces, never to be heard from again. But Hürrem mastered the delicate dance. She entertained the Sultan with poetry recitals, offered him counsel on state matters, and listened to his confidences when no one else dared. By the time she conceived his first son, Mehmet, she had elevated herself from commodity to consul. That transformation was cemented in a ceremony that shook the empire's foundations. Hürrem became not just a mother of princes, but Suleiman's legal wife, the first time an Ottoman sultan had ever married a concubine. The hall where the ceremony took place was drenched in saffron light. Carpets of crimson silk lined the floors, and dignitaries from across the empire attended in heavy brocade and pearl. When the mufti recited the marriage contract, the rafters trembled with the implications. Centuries of harem custom shattered, the path to power irrevocably altered. Concubines who once vied for attention vanished into obscurity. Her sisters-in-arms became her foot soldiers in a new court order. Power in Topkapi flowed through secret passages and curtained alcoves. Hürrem established her own network of influence, turning eunuchs, Janissaries, and provincial governors into loyal allies. She sponsored charitable foundations, soup kitchens that fed the hungry, schools that educated orphans, baths that offered respite to the weary. Each wakif bore her name, ensuring that everyday folk invoked Hürrem in their prayers. Marble fountains she commissioned in bazaars and mosques engraved with her benefaction announced to merchants and pilgrims that she was the people's protector as much as the Sultan's consort. But palace intrigues never slept. Suleiman's firstborn son Mustafa, conceived by another of his consorts, grew into a charismatic figure adored by the Janissaries and provincial notables alike. Mustafa was tall, fair-haired, fearless in battle, a living embodiment of his grandfather Selim the Grim. Courtiers whispered that he would succeed his father without contest. Hürrem watched this rise with cool calculation from her pavilion overlooking the Bosphorus. In her mind, Mustafa's popularity threatened the future of her own sons. Rumors spread like wildfire, that Hürrem bribed eunuchs to spy on the prince, that she fed the Sultan rumors of Mustafa's secret alliances with Safavid spies. Whether through poisoned pen or whispered counsel, she stoked the fires of doubt. The most dramatic moment came during the summer campaign of 1553. Suleiman's massive army was encamped on the Anatolian plateau, preparing to march deeper into Safavid Persia. Mustafa, confident and beloved, rode out with royal banners flying, intending to calm restless troops. That very night, under a moonlit sky streaked with starlight, soldiers moved silently through the camp and seized him. At dawn, Mustafa was strangled, his body bound in crimson cloth and buried in a shallow grave. When the Sultan realized what had happened, grief and rage warped his features. Some chroniclers say he wept openly. Others claim he vowed vengeance on unknown traitors. Hürrem, weeping at his side, declared the act necessary to secure the dynasty, a statement that both rallied and horrified the court. In the aftermath, key supporters of Mustafa vanished, some quietly executed, others exiled to remote posts. Eunuchs who once boasted of Mustafa's favor crossed themselves before meeting Hürrem's eye. Yet through the palace's trembling silence, Hürrem remained Suleiman's closest advisor. She soothed his guilt with tender prayers, guided him through succession debates, and maintained a precarious balance between the Devshirme officers and the landed nobility. Her influence at this moment of crisis cemented her reputation as the true power behind the throne. By her late 40s, Hürrem's ambitions turned toward a legacy in stone and charity. She commissioned the magnificent Haseki Hürrem Sultan Mosque on Istanbul's 6th Hill, entrusting the celebrated architect Mimar Sinan with its design. Its soaring central dome, flanked by twin minarets, rose above the Golden Horn like a crown upon the city. Beneath it, an imaret, which means a soup kitchen, fed the poor, a madrasa taught scholars, and a hammam offered sanctuary from the stifling summer heat. Pilgrims traveled from distant provinces to pray under its arches, leaving coins at her tomb in hopes of her intercession. Yet as she indulged in architectural splendor, Hürrem never let political fires cool. She wrote eloquent letters to European queens, Catherine de' Medici in France, Mary Tudor in England, exchanging gifts of silks dyed with rare indigo and spices harvested from Arabia. Through back-channel envoys, she negotiated truces with the Safavids, seeking to spare her sons the horrors of border warfare. She even explored correspondence with the Mughal Emperor Humayun, envisioning an alliance that would tie the Islamic world together from Istanbul to Delhi. Suleiman confided in her more often than in his grand viziers, and many nights they pored over maps beneath candlelight, plotting the empire's next moves. The final years of Hürrem's life were shaded by illness, and by the ever-present specter of court envy. Physicians spoke of dropsy, eunuchs whispered of black bile. A handful of jealous concubines claimed she had been cursed by disgruntled rivals. In 1558, she fell into a fever that resisted every remedy. Topkapi hushed, markets closed. Even the ships on the Bosphorus lowered their sails in mourning. Suleiman refused all audiences, sitting by her bedside and praising her virtues until her last breath. With her dying words, she blessed him and their sons, Selim, Bayezid, and Sahangir, ensuring that her influence would echo through their reigns. After her death, Istanbul plunged into mourning. Mosque bells tolled, caravans paused, and the dull roar of the city fell silent. Suleiman erected a mausoleum beside his own, an architectural jewel of white marble and Iznik tiles inscribed with verses naming her virtues. Generations of travelers spoke of the laughing one, who had remained serene even in death, her laughter now a legend woven into the very stones of the empire's seat. Historians still argue over Hürrem's true legacy. Was she a Machiavellian mastermind who sacrificed hundreds to secure power, or a visionary who carved a space for women in a male-dominated empire? Did she poison or plot in shadows, or did she simply outlast her enemies? The truth, like her life, lies in shades of gray. She proved that influence needs neither a crown nor an army. Sometimes a single whispered word can reshape destinies. She showed that compassion can be wielded as forcefully as steel, and that a mother's love can guide not just children but empires. So the next time you gaze upon Istanbul's skyline dotted with domes and minarets, remember Hürrem Sultan. Remember the slave who became queen, the concubine who became confidante, the mother who became monarch. Her story reminds us that history's true rulers are often those we least expect, the ones who laugh in the face of convention and rule not by birthright but by brilliance. If this journey through palace intrigue and power has captivated you, go ahead and hit subscribe and ring the bell. Ancient Odyssey is your passport to the hidden stories of fearless women, the unseen strategists, and the bold visionaries who shaped our world. Stay curious, stay bold, and I'll see you on our next voyage through the annals of history.